Hey there, welcome back to the Life with Old Dogs podcast. We took a nice break over the summer. Now it's time to jump back into things, and we're super excited about this season. Today, I am here with Angie Winters. She is a dog parenting coach who has worked with and rehabilitated over 1,000 dogs, and she is author. She is also the author of a new book, Don't Train Your Dog, a pet parenting guide to teaching good behavior, calming fear, and raising happy dogs. I love that. I love this book, and I love what you're all about, and can't wait to dive in. So, Angie, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes. I guess I could say I got my start with dogs, even though I've been pretty much obsessed with animals all my life. I've always watched animals, observed animals, spent a lot of time out with animals. But then as I got older, typical suburban mom raising a couple boys, small boys. And then I started volunteering for with dog rescues. Didn't take me long to figure out that there were just a huge amount of behavioral problems, fears, aggression, everything that nobody seemed to have any way to prevent or cure. So eventually I just out of desperation started only working with the worst of the worst dogs, meaning dogs that had been deemed unfixable. So by doing those worst cases, dog after dog after dog, bringing it into my home, the dogs were all different, but my home life and my parenting style was always the same. So I was able to, through that work, which was quite the challenge, especially while raising kids. But then when I started seeing that I could develop a certain set of techniques and parenting techniques that can guide dogs, regardless of age, sex, breed, previous trauma, anything like that, it would work on all dogs. I started noticing I'm just like honing it down to this certain set of techniques. And so once I started doing that, I just continued. I started taking video of it. So fast forward 25 years, and I have 25 years worth of notes, 25 years worth of video. And I actually had a very severe health problem and, very nearly lost my life. And I have a second chance at life. And when I came back, I said, I know why I'm here. I have to take all these notes and videos and somehow get them into a form that every parent can use, because before I would just be recording it and try to give it to the rescues. And so now I'm seeing cases that a typical adopter is not going to see. Right. But if you can cure those, you can, the other ones are just mild to me now, and I can tell you easily how to fix it. So it got until I started making videos to do that and, chipping away at the problem. But then after that, I really got my second chance at life. I just dropped everything else in my life and became, I had this unrelenting passion to get this information out. And it turns out it's harder than you think. So I had to make it easy. So here we are all these years later, still working on it. I've saved thousands of dogs, but now with this new book, everything has come full circle. And I got basically 28 years worth of this work, all boiled down into simple recipes for how to teach good behaviors, parenting recipes, and prescriptions for how to fix things that have gone off the rails. The genesis of all those behavioral problems, though, is thinking from a training mindset instead of a guiding parenting mindset, hence the book.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. And as we were talking before we started recording, you are definitely speaking my language. Here at the sanctuary, we don't do any sort of, rigid training. It is more like what you're saying. It is more like a parent technique that I use here. One of the biggest questions I get is, we are a cage-free environment here. This is run out of my home, and often I'm asked, how do you get all of these dogs to get along? And I'm a mother of five. All of my kids are older now. I have five grandchildren, and I apply what I learned from being a mother to each dog that comes in through the sanctuary. And it's sometimes in the beginning, it's a little rough till they start learning the ropes and learning how I am and what's expected of them, but they fall into place fairly quickly. It's not to say we don't have squabbles every now and again, just like kids,
Right.
they're going to fight from time to time. But for the most, everybody gets along. And in addition to that, there's very low stress here. There's hardly any
Mhm.
stress here. And
Yeah.
I keep it that way intentionally so that they, have some sort of like homeostasis, if you will, calm, zen,
Right.
whatever. Um,
Right. I
but
think
I
part of the
don't
reason
use,
why, yeah, the reason why that works is because from a high level philosophical view, and this book goes from high level all the way down to everyday daily life, how you do it. So first you get here's the big reason why we have to handle it this way, and here's exactly how to handle it this way. But you, I'm guessing, since you're the mother of 5 children, like I am, I was a mother of very active boys. They're grown now, but I have what I describe as firm but supportive, very supportive parenting, right? So you're applying that philosophy, but what you probably don't realize is that you have some experience with dogs, and you're keeping things calm, which is great. But you can use this firm but supportive parenting if you use the recipes and prescription in the book. You can do it in a super busy household, right? You can do it in a laid back household. You can do it where you're raising kids. That's kind of the point, is it's got to work where this typical training is not working. But this firm but supportive parenting but you're just applying it to dogs as opposed to applying it to children. And there are differences in how you apply that firm but supportive parenting, but the overall philosophy is the same. But how do you do it in daily life is a little different, because dogs don't see it the same way kids do, obviously.
exactly,
So
right.
how you parent those two things are two different things. And that's where the rubber meets the road.
Hmm. Yes, and that is my philosophy, fair but firm. I've said it numerous times over the years. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe dogs pick up on that. Not only do they pick up on that, I think they need that. I think
Oh,
they're looking for that.
yeah. Well, first of all, they pick up on everything, good
Hmm.
and bad, right? So there's a portion of the book that talks about, look at your facial expressions. Here's what it looks like to a dog. Here's what your facial expressions look like a dog. Worried, anxious, angry, or firm but neutral. We don't do that. But here's what we do. So there's a certain order that you give them these instructions in, but there's no shortage of love, and it's coming from a person who loves them unconditionally. But we have to have safety rules,
Right,
right?
right.
And those safety
Yes.
rules have to be taught, and how you teach them to dogs is different than you teach them to kids.
Yes. Well, I think one thing that probably remains consistent, regardless of whether it's kids or whether it's dogs or any kind of animal, is that you do have to be consistent and repetitive and keep giving the same message over and over. You don't
Right.
want to.
But you know how quickly dogs get stuff when they get the message the correct way, when it's presented to them in the correct way. Part of the reason why you have to do it over and over is because it wasn't presented with emotionally neutral, like it would be from Mother Nature, as described in the book. Some of it is like people are frustrated, but once you have prescriptions and recipes, here's exactly how you do it for this. You relax about it, and people don't get so upset, and then it gets conveyed more quickly, and it only takes a few repetitions, and they're like, oh, okay, got it. Not that they don't need to be reminded every once in a while, like, oops, we don't do that, but they get it very quickly when they're approached in the right way. It's just that it's like chaos in daily life, and then you just go out you just say something to the dog, or you go out to the dog. So it starts out, but it's very, very, actually very easy to do, and it's way easier than people think, because dog training is hard. They keep on trying to do that dog training over and over and over, and it's not working. But yet, what else do we have? Oh, we got another person that says dog training, but it's kind of just basically a little altered version of the first thing you heard. Still doesn't work. So step back, see the whole philosophy of how dogs view us and how they view their lives, and then here work these exact prescriptions. You can print them out from our website. It has a digital download, a digital companion that goes to the book. And so there's a QR code right in the introduction. You can scan that with your phone. You can look at me doing the things you're reading in the book if you want. The book self-contained. You don't have to look at the videos, but you can if you want to see it happening in real life with all different dogs, different things. And then you have downloadables. Here's exactly the prescription for curing low-level fear of this, or high-level fear of this, or how to teach kids and dogs to ensure that they get along. Here's the recipe. Print it out, put it on your refrigerator.
And that right there is gold. And that is something that I wanted to speak about. Again, we don't typically adopt out the residents once they get here, but we do a lot of cross posting and networking for other German Shepherds in need, regardless of their breed. So we do have a hand in adoptions, even if dogs don't ever come here to the sanctuary. And we want it to be a success for everyone, both the dog
Exactly.
and the family who's adopting. And listen, a majority of the time, people who are adopting a dog have other dogs. A lot of them have kids. Maybe they're not little kids, but some do have little kids, but still, even teenagers. And the dogs have to be able to get along with other dogs and other kids. So speaking on that, what would you suggest to people who want to adopt a dog but have their home life at home with other dogs and even kids? What would you suggest to make sure that that is as successful as possible? A marriage that is as
Yeah, I
successful as
mean, it's
possible.
like, it's virtually guaranteed. If you, when people use the, what is now known as the welcome weekend, it's a 3-day program. I suggest you only bring dogs home on the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Work these 3 days, try to clear your schedule. After that, it's like dogs just fall into the line because it's presented to them in a way that they understand it. Your existing dogs and your new family member, because your parenting is like this overall philosophy. But then there are 3 days, I suggest a 3-day program that was called 3 Dog Days, that now it's been rebranded to Welcome Weekend to go with the book, right? And it's some of the, you can take out some of the philosophies in the book and put them in there, but this is just a set little, do this for 3 days. You don't have to think about it, just do this. And then it guarantees, virtually guarantees adoptions. Now, there are cases where this dog wasn't ready to be adopted yet and it was adopted out by a rescue, but that's very, very few. I mean, I'm talking like 99% of these adoptions are successful. And I've been working with, through the years, a Oregon prison dog training program, and they have every person who adopts a dog do this 3-day program, my 3-day program. And I have testimonials and everything about how much, it's just virtually changed the adoption process. And you just don't have all these dogs coming back. And it's so important not to have them coming back. First of all, most of them, you want to guarantee that adoption as much as possible, because every time a dog comes back now it comes back with increased separation anxiety because of the way it was brought in and this is done, or now labeled a biter when they weren't biters before. And now a rescue's got a dog that's labeled a biter and it can't to adopt out. This can all be prevented, easily prevented, which is what haunts me, which is why I'm here.
Yes. I hear that about the haunting and what you were talking about, being adopted out and coming back with that increased anxiety and perhaps label. Long time ago when we started Woody's Place, we did adopt out in the beginning and they were successful, but just seeing the dogs come in, and like I was saying off camera, most of them are geriatric when they get here. That's why we decided to just become a sanctuary. Part of the reason was to just let them come, decompress, and not have to stress about, well, now I'm here and now I'm being sent somewhere else and they have little kids or another dog. Now I'm even more stressed and I'm
Right.
old, I hurt, I'm tired,
Exactly.
whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
So
like, yeah, the 3-day programs, because you know how resilient dogs are. You know how quickly they can change when they're presented with the right information, because I know you have dog experience.
yeah.
So imagine if you had these 3-day programs, do this on day 1, this on day 2, this on day 3, exactly these just simple 3 philosophies and techniques. And then the dog settles in so fast and everything is apparent to everybody. We treat everybody with respect. Nobody does that. We only do this. Here's how we get along. And then there's no question that when I bring them in, or anybody brings them in with this program, there's no question that I'm a fair, absolutely unconditional, loving parent. And here's the safety rules, right? That makes dogs instantly feel so safe, because they know that the existing dog can't do anything to them. Is not going to get by with any bad treatment to them, and they're not going to get by with any treatment to the existing dog, right?
Right.
Then everybody settles down, and it happens so quickly because dogs are just so much better than us, so many regards, and that's one of them where as long as everything's right, they'll settle down, where, if I had anxiety for something, I could go to a counselor for 15 years and maybe never get over it. Dogs can get over it in 2 days if they're given the right thing, but people don't believe it until they see it with their own eyes, because they're always doing this dog training and attempting dog training, sit, stay, hold, none of that matters to a dog, and none of that matters in your home life to have a happy and well-behaved dogs. They can't be one without the other. You've got to achieve both, and they can't fully be one without the other. But it's just so much easier than people think. But I understand why they think it's hard, is because this book and the information in this book is not out there. It's just too hard to find, right? But so, which is why, thank you for having me on here, because we're doing as many interviews as we can, spreading the word to everybody, and keep dogs in their homes. We don't have to have so many sanctuaries if dogs stay in their homes.
Well, or so many dogs being euthanized every year
Yes.
unnecessarily because they were misunderstood or set up for failure. And I'm going to take this a step further with what you were saying about the training. I don't see a problem with training as long as it's done correctly. But I truly believe, especially in the rescue world, that people are not given this information. Like your book, they go to a rescue, they go to a shelter, they see a dog they want to adopt, they go through the process of adopting a dog, and then that's it. They're given the dog, but they're not really given any education on
Right.
how
They
to
might get like a
correctly
little,
bring. Yeah.
yeah, they might get a little packet that says, here, try to do this. It takes dogs a month to settle in. And it's like, I get all that. And I get why everybody's saying that. I've been in the dog rescue world for 28 years. But really, what is surprising is that, and the reason why the disconnect happens is because if we're concentrating on sit for a treat, that's all fine, but that's still tricks for treats, right? And then they're like, oh, he learned so fast. He's so smart. Look how fast he learned to sit for a treat. Look, I mean, I don't even care if you're being like, I have a dog come around and execute a perfect heel to my left side, right? That's still a glorified trick. And then if things go downhill quickly and the adoption doesn't work, or even dogs that have been existing in that home as a family member for a long time, goes downhill quickly because parents believe they can teach the safety rules. Don't run out, we need permission to run out the doors, we don't bite anybody. They believe that they can teach those the same way they taught the tricks, and nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, the dog behavior cases are skyrocketing. Dogs have been surrendered to shelters in record numbers. The facts don't lie about it. Right. And that's where the disconnect is, why I say don't concentrate on training. I do plenty of training. I've trained dogs for television, social media, blah, blah. It's fun. But you're totally barking up the wrong tree if you're thinking you'll be able to teach. Don't bite kids. You're going to be protected against kids, but you can't bite kids still. We're all fair. Don't run outdoors. Don't be aggressive over food. Those things can't be taught by here, trick, treat, trick, treat.
Right. Yeah. No. And every dog is different, and every household is different. So,
Right. But this is kind of like this book kind of hits it kind of brings everybody to the same level as you can get, while still having, of course, some dogs are more sensitive than the others. Some dogs are, so it allows for that. The recipes allow for that because your dog. But in the very beginning, especially when you're bringing a dog home in a rescue, I'm speaking to that because, that's your area also, is that, they have to have a certain set of techniques that are standards, just like every kid is different. But we know that, some things like natural consequences or timeouts, they work for kids. Like timeouts don't work for dogs, but they work for kids. Certain things, there are some common things that work for kids, even though kids all have different personality. It's the same with dogs. There are some common things that work with dogs, and that's what's in the book. Here they are. They'll work for, like I said, any breed, age, previous trauma, anything. Yes, if you need a recipe to undo this aggression or a recipe to undo this fear, that's in there too. But there's commonality in these parenting recipes about how you teach these things to dogs. If that makes sense.
If you dog that comes in, you rescued a dog, and the dog has maybe something like fear aggression. How long would your parenting style techniques? How long would it take to get a dog to realize, hey, you're safe? You don't have to worry. I understand something really bad happened to you in the past. That's not going to happen here. How long does it take? Because people in the rescue world, and I'm sure you know this, they'll get a dog again from a shelter or a rescue, and maybe they're overwhelmed that the dog then has fear aggression. They put them in a situation where that fear aggression comes out, and then they're real quick. Oh no, this dog's got to go back. It's
Hmm.
bad news. It's got to go back. So, how
Yeah.
long would you say?
So it's not how long, it's more like how many repetitions of something, this exposure. Okay. But then all exposure is not created equally. Like the last chapter in my book is ending fear-based dog aggression. Right. So, and then I have this recipe for that. And it's like, but you got to do it in a certain order. Let's say we did that once, it'll take 30 minutes, possibly 45 minutes. We do this thing because these are the bad cases, right? I mean, these are the ones that people struggle with the most.
Right.
So this is
Mhm.
how you do it. Everybody, they've read about how to do the recipe. So everybody's calm, right? And that right there goes to the, because we already know what we're going to do. We're not going to just try to work at this. We're not going to try to expose them and see what happens. We already know what's going to happen with the recipe. We've planned it. Do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Now let's walk behind, because a dog doesn't want to be looked in the eye by another dog. That a dog that's fear-based, which is 90% of all aggression of other dogs is fear-based. They don't want to
Mhm.
look, they don't want to have a dog looking at them. Just like they don't want
Right.
people looking at them, like when they're insecure or a little bit more sensitive or have had bad experiences. But
Mhm.
that has to be undone. We have to undo those bad experiences and replace them with this good experience, right? And you could do it in 45 minutes. That's one day. It doesn't take months and months. The reason why everybody thinks it takes months and months, and you do want to give them the reason why we say that in rescue is like give them a chance, give them a chance to get, which is true,
Right.
but it doesn't work. But all they have to work with is dog training. So it doesn't matter how many repetitions of that they do. It's not undoing the aggression. Giving them a treat when they're aggressive towards other dogs is not going to undo it, right? It's going to make it
No.
worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's
You
what
know,
means something to dogs. They want to smell another dog without another dog looking at them,
yeah.
right? And here's the symptoms. It's fear-based. I've got a thermometer of the symptoms, right? If your dog is fear-based, if he has these symptoms, right? He's um he acts like he's aggressive towards other dogs, but then if another dog actually takes him up on it and turns towards him, then he's scared, right?
Mhm. That's
Okay.
right.
That's one of the symptoms, right? Check, check, check. Oh, okay. My dog is fear-based. Use this recipe. I'm telling you, it's just not like anything you've ever seen. I wish you would have seen it before but it just took a long time. It took a long time to get it into a form that is easy enough that, everyday parents can do it. You don't have to be a dog trainer. You don't have to be a dog whisperer. There's no magic involved. Yes, I'm more experienced. You're more experienced, but an everyday average parent can do this the way it's structured in the book.
Honestly, that's what excited me about having you on this podcast is not only is everybody a dog trainer, not everybody can afford a dog trainer. Some people
Exactly.
want to go that route. They want to go, the positive reinforcement, like you're saying, the treats and good boy and all. And I'm not knocking that. What I'm saying is, you know, some of these training techniques don't resonate with every single dog. So you have to have
Right.
something else in addition to that, or it's not going to be a success for that dog and the
Right.
family. And again, in the rescue world, that is what it's all about, making this marriage, making it successful for everyone. But not everyone has access to training, or maybe there's a lot of people out there with the label trainer, and
Right.
maybe
Right.
they're not
Yeah. Oh,
training the best way
and
that they should be.
and ultimately, regardless of whether you send them away for training using that term, other than parenting, I talk more about the parenting term, which I feel perfectly comfortable with now because my definition of parenting is providing love, guidance, and protection to vulnerable members of a family, right? But how you do that for dogs is different than you do it for kids. So a few years ago, I've become completely confident and good with describing it as parenting because I'm providing this love and guidance and support, right? I just do it differently for dogs, right? Training is essentially glorified tricks, where you've got this harsh obedience training, or you have this over permissive, whatever. Like this is what the book is. Here's how you strike that balance, what I call the parenting sweet spot, right? And you gotta do this sweet spot, and dogs get it, right? But it involves emotionally neutral guidance, recipe, like just laying out the recipe, already knowing what it's going to be. And and I forgot the first question of what you were saying, but the training doesn't work. The training doesn't work whether you're choosing the firm or you're overly firm. I'm talking about harsh
Yes.
and overly permissive. I'm talking about that. Yes, I use treats, right? But I use them at the right times and for the right things. And here's when you can and cannot do them, and here's how you know is in the book. And so people, what's virtually happened is that parents are just paralyzed because you've got these two dog training worlds. Basically, it's almost like politics launching attacks at each other, and dog parents are caught in the middle because they're afraid to make a move. That'll be too harsh. I'm afraid to make that. That's too permissive. He's going to be like a Tasmanian devil if I do that. I mean, you this one, he's going to be scared or be aggressive if I do this one. So it's what I call has happened is, parental paralysis by analysis. So now we don't do anything, or we try to do a few rules, but then we give up on that, or we have giant number of rules that we inconsistently enforce, or we have no rules because I don't want them to be upset.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is all covered in the book, right? But this is what's happened. And this is why dogs are going off the rail. Your trained dog is going off the rails, and why adoptions are not successful a lot of the times, and the human financial and human toll it takes to save, rehabilitate, and place one dog is incalculable, right? And then I talk about that in the book. And so is the heartache of when they so many times be returned, like we said, with severe separation anxiety now and labeled biters. So we got to prevent all that. All that has to be prevented. And it's just not that hard. It's just that people don't have the information, the correct information.
Well, I mean, there's more to it than that, I think. I mean, that is a big factor. I think too, patience is something else. I also think sometimes in today's day and age, they want the perfect dog and they don't want to have to put a whole lot of work into it. And, somebody said to me once, and it has stuck with me for decades. Somebody once said to me, uh, when I was doing an adoption event, why would I want someone else's problem? When they were talking about adopting a dog. Now, this person, I knew this person. They always went to a breeder. They always got rid of their dogs, just go to another breeder, get another dog. And I said, something about adopting. And that was their response. Why would I want someone else's problem? And I'll tell you, that was like a kick to the gut to me hearing that. And I thought to myself, well, how
Uh-huh.
many other people actually think that? That these dogs are broke or beyond repair or somebody else's problem or whatever. Because to me, it's always a people problem. It's
Right.
rarely ever a dog problem. It's
No,
usually a
no,
people problem.
it's not a dog problem, but the reason why parents often think that is because they are trying these dog training techniques and they're not working. So some parents do try really hard. They try
I'm not
really
saying they
hard and it
don't.
still
Yes, I
doesn't
agree.
work,
Some do.
right? And some of them, they've tried everything. They're looking for training. They're looking for whatever. They've put tons of money in it. A lot of them have, and it still doesn't work because of a certain situation that's set up either with the kid or another dog or something like that. But the
Child
fallacy,
training
in my
again.
opinion, yeah, on the parents you're talking about, just like happening. Why would I want somebody else's problem is? But the problem is they get. Well, it doesn't matter whether you get them for a breeder. I mean, we don't want it from puppy mill or whatever. But wherever you get a dog, they're giving their dogs away because the problem's still happening. It's not from rescue dogs. They're still having a problem because they don't know how to do it to parent dogs correctly or guide them into happiness and good behavior. Right? You have to have those skills to do that. But when you read the book, everybody has said this. This is so much easier than I thought. This is so much easier. It's not that hard to do it in daily life. But frankly, the reason why it's so easy is because it took me 28 years to take all this hard stuff and make it easy. Figure out how to fix it, then take it all and make it easy so that it could be in a form that everybody could be successful with it. Right? So there's just so much. There's so much, and we
That
love dogs so much, and there's so much, and it's like we could debate these things forever. We could debate
right.
them till we're all blue in the face. But what is the reality? What works is what works. Results are what works. Results are what proves what works.
And you have thousands of dogs that you've walked through this and hopefully have gone on to live a nice long, successful, happy life.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing it so long that a lot of the dogs I've rehabilitated or went to happy homes and they had a great life and they've passed on because I've been doing it for so long. It's just hard to believe that, I mean, it's like, and I've raised two boys that are now, grown capable men are actually now also trying to using their skills to help dogs. I mean, it's like that's how long I've been doing it. So you do something long enough and you do it with the worst of the worst cases,
Right.
and you're going to figure it out, and then, but figuring out was one thing, getting it to everybody in a form they can understand and that they will be successful for was the hardest part. But I feel like I've done that, and the results are, and the feedback is proving that to be true. So, you know,
Again, most people I know who either get a dog from a breeder or adopt a dog, they go out with the best intentions. This is truly a family member that they're bringing into their
mhm,
home and their family. They want to be successful. They want that love. They want that companionship. They want it to be a good experience. But like you're saying, some people just don't have the know-how, or, they go to a particular uh, breeder with a particular breeding style that basically creates this robot machine, but not really a family dog. Uh, for
yeah,
instance, um, for instance, this was, a decade and a half ago, we had family friends who had two gorgeous German Shepherds, male German Shepherds, got them from Germany, spent a ton. These dogs were absolutely gorgeous. And they sent them away to a breeder for, I think, 6 weeks. And basically, when the dogs came back, they were like machines.
mhm,
Subsequently, fast forward 4, 6 months, the dogs got out and they attacked a neighbor because she did something that was akin to some sort of signal for them to attack. And this poor lady was just taking her trash out, and these
yeah,
German Shepherds attacked her, and she ended up hospitalized. They ended up getting sued. The dogs ended up
mhm,
getting, sent away.
yeah.
Because now this was suburb America. Like, why
Yeah,
would you
yeah.
do
And
that?
that's harsh obedience training, right? But so it's
Yes,
like, even if you did
yes.
send your dog, and everybody, I hope that my hope is that this book creates a lot of people that know how to work with dogs or whatever. So you can call it, whether you call it going away for training or not, you know, there has to be the love and everything that accompanies it. And what I talk about in the book is whether you send your dog off for training or not, there are some people, and I'll use the term training, like I could bring dogs into my house. I love every one of those dogs as if it was my own dog. I'm not incapable of not treating that dog exactly the way I would feel about my own dog. Right. And, they're just, they're vulnerable, and they're just, they're relying on me. And I just, I treat them exactly the way I would treat my own family member. But once he goes back to the family, they still need to know what's in this book in order for it to stay. Right. So there's no shortage of, I mean, there's no way that the parent can't already know, that has to know this information, regardless of whether you send away. But once you read this information, you're like, oh, I guess I don't need to send it away to harsh training or all permissive training. But that type of harsh training causes, and they where they want, that's like, I want an obedient dog. Right. So it's like, I don't want an obedient child. I want a happy, well-behaved child, and I want a happy, well-behaved dog. Right. And I want him to
Well
know the life
balanced.
skills. That's where it's like, there's just concentrate on these certain big rules and don't sweat the small stuff. Right. And nobody's perfect, and no kid's perfect, and no dog's perfect. Right. But we have to be safe. We have to have enough, enough safety rules and enough know how that we can live a happy life. And you get so much closer to your dog, and you see this dog's personality when you do it this way that you never see when you're trying to do training. It what I'm talking about, the difference is it explains the mystery behind why people say, I'm so close to my dog. I love him no matter what. I'll do anything for him. But I don't understand why he's doing these behaviors. It's like he's a stranger to me when he's doing these behaviors. Or I want so badly for my dog not to be afraid of this. He has this fear of this or whatever. And I want so badly for him not to be afraid, but I can't figure out how to get rid of his fear. Right. That's the disconnect, because you're looking at it from a dog training standpoint. What I'm saying in the book is anything and everything you want for your dog or from your dog relies on your ability to understand how they're entangled with us from an emotional standpoint. Right. And dogs already know that. They're already looking at us. They're watching every expression on your face. They're already entangled with you emotionally. And they know how to use that to communicate with us, and we don't know how to use, we're not using that to communicate with them and to teach them the safety rules and to make them happy and fulfilled. We're instead flipping back to this dog training mindset we've been taught since we were little kids. Right. And that's the disconnect. That's where it happens.
Right. So we have to build trust with these dogs, especially the vulnerable dogs, which typically older dogs are. So from my standpoint, with the older dogs, we don't really get a whole lot of behavioral issues. We get more, I'm physically hurting, and I
Right.
might snap at you because I'm physically hurting. So in my mind, that equates to vulnerability. They're just protecting themselves. I don't ever take it personal when one of them snap, if somebody's got elbow dysplasia and it hurts or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so what would you say to something along those lines if somebody decides they're going to bring in an older dog, maybe 8, 9, 10, or whatever? What would be some of the techniques you would suggest to them to help a dog be more successful in that adoption? In that adoption.
Yeah. And so as far as exact techniques go, that the book builds upon it on chapter by chapter. So I can't skip right to the middle and tell you something because somebody might misunderstand and then a dog could get hurt. But in general, even dogs that have any vulnerable dog, even puppies are vulnerable, but they're just, so resilient and bouncing off the walls. And a lot of that, you can just, correct when you get, you can fix. You can fix and have them not develop fears and stuff. But a dog who already has fears or anything like that, the best thing you can do for them when you're bringing in this dog is to present the environment to them that is like, I'm not going to let these other dogs overwhelm you. Right. You're safe. And I'm not going to let you, though, have aggression towards them. So I disagree with aggression when it happens, but when it's about my legs hurt and my leg got hurt and I kind of snapped, like that, I just got and just kind of barely disagree with it, just so that you put in the disagreement. So they say in an overview, nothing harsh, just we don't do that. But then I correct the other dog that has hurt, like stay back, and teach them to give a wider berth to this dog that's hurt, right? And so that dog that was hurt is watching me communicate to the other dog, and he knows exactly what's happening, and he knows, and it makes him feel safe because he knows that I'm going to step in and take care of it, right? If I don't step in and take care of it, then it becomes, next time it's a fight.
Yes, yes, absolutely. We do the same thing here. And furthermore, when if no one's here at the sanctuary, which usually someone is, if no one's here, for instance, we have Chop right now who has degenerative myelopathy, so he's vulnerable. He
Mm.
can't get around like the other dogs do. Um, Chop he'll typically go in my Florida room or my office, which is very spacious and very comfortable. And I separate him for his own well being,
Yeah.
just to make sure he knows I'm safe. Nobody's actually accidentally going to step on me. And then I know none of the other dogs are going to get snapped at because they get
Right.
too close to him. But we actually, in my family, my daughter and my son-in-law actually just rescued a dog, not even 10 days ago now. For that reason, it's an older dog, a 15-year-old dog, and it was snapping at a puppy. The family got the puppy, and they were going to euthanize the older dog, who, by the way, has absolutely nothing wrong with it except for a little arthritis.
Mm-hmm.
And the family was going to euthanize the dog simply because he was snapping at the puppy. And the dog was here just last weekend. And this little guy is so full of life and so full of love. And he was just in a vulnerable place and didn't
Yeah,
feel
it's tragic.
protected.
It's
Yeah.
tragic. But when you think
Yeah.
about it, dogs are, I mean, that's tragic because that could have easily been just, taken care of. And there's a section
Right.
in my book about, there are some multi-dog household rules. These are the rules I do to keep peace. But in general, it's like, puppies, like a lot of times don't get it. Like, they don't get it. You have to teach them, don't put the older dog in a position where it has to correct the puppy. You don't want that, right? Which they put him in a position to have to correct the puppy in order he's trying to teach the puppy, stay off me, calm down or whatever, when the parent should be saying, calm down to the puppy. Here, let's play with this, but disagree with, doing that to the older dog when the older dog's showing body language that it's done playing or it doesn't want to play.
Right.
in there. So the dog that talks about, here's very simple dog body language, right? You can see
Mhm.
this, you can see, then you can see it on video if you'd like, right? And so don't put the older dog in a position where it's doing that. And then the older dog loses its home. The only home it's ever known. I mean, the puppy would be more resilient to be up, it come, into has a chance for a happy life. If it was rehomed, which I don't think either of them needed to be rehomed, but then the older dog does. I mean, it's that's tragic, that kind of stuff. But
Well, it
in
is.
order for
It
dogs
is.
to feel like and I've seen it, I've seen every bit of everything you're talking about, and by the thousand in over this 28 years. Nothing surprises me anymore. Well, every once in a while it'll be something I still can't believe, but um, it, in order for dogs to feel like they're safe, like you're talking about, you close him into another room or something while he's gone. I'm sure like he appreciates that. You can tell with his body language whether he appreciates that or not. But dogs can only relax and feel safe if they believe they're off duty. And there's parenting techniques that you apply to so they can understand you're off duty here. When you're here, you're off duty. You're not, nobody's going to come crashing in on you. This is your off duty place, and that's the only way they can truly relax. And if you're not relaxed, then you're anxious. So you're one or the other. They're one or the other. You have no choice but to show them, but you need to understand what makes dogs feel off duty.
Mhm. Yeah. No, I listen, and then honestly, then this anxiety that you're talking about, not feeling off duty, just feeling vulnerable, not feeling protected, I think is a reason why pharmaceuticals like trazodone have become such a commonplace in the canine world in general. I mean, not that we haven't used it here under certain circumstances. If we get a new resident in, they're totally stressed out, they may hurt themselves. Yes, we may use that for a short period of time. But I'm just really perplexed at how many dogs are on things like trazodone, uh, for their lives. And I wonder what is
Yeah.
going on there that these
Yeah.
dogs need to be on something. Is it genetic? Is it environment? Is it a combination of the both? It's
It's
surprise.
parenting.
Is it a
It's
lack of
parenting.
exercise? What is it?
Yeah, it's parenting, because parenting, you provide this environment where everybody feels safe, where no aggression is allowed, or whatever, where you get your needs fulfilled, your needs that you require, by your DNA, you get those fulfilled. But then I ask that you have this behavior, I make sure that you do not lack for any love. You got plenty of toys, plenty of food, you get activities, everything's here. But I ask for this certain amount of behavior where we're not going to attack other dogs, we're not going to do these things.
Right.
And I have seen
I'm
countless,
sorry.
countless dogs on all medications. There's some in my videos where it's just like, here's the slew of 9 medications this dog is on, a feral dog or a dog that couldn't be touched. And people are throwing treats at it. And that's the advice. Keep throwing treats until they get closer and closer to you. Now this dog is having terrible diarrhea, terrible physical. It's on 9 kind of medication. They're giving it pumpkin and medication and everything for diarrhea, when really it was so scared it was having diarrhea, right? So don't, obviously you got to consult your vet and don't take them off all that stuff immediately. Some cases I agree. I agree with you. I'm exactly in the same, where if the dog comes to me with and it's on trazodone or whatever, like, I'll use it for a day or two, but I quickly get them off of it. I tell the vet, how I'm going to get them off of this. Do I need to break a pill in half, or what do I need to do to wean them off of it? Because they can't learn and follow the parenting techniques and the recipes and the guidance that I'm telling you when they're all doped up. Right. So discuss with your vet when you're getting ready to do that, is my advice. There was a dog I had that was so afraid of thunderstorms that it was completely off the charts. You see a lot of that, but I mean, this is off the charts, like bloody paw, hurt himself, whatever. And so I had him on it for like the first 3 days while I was replicating like thundering noises. And it happened to just, a lot of times the universe gives you what you need. And it happened to be like a lot of thunderstorms when he was at my house. I was like, perfect, because this is what we need, so to bring it down a level, but he was hurting himself. So I left him on that for a couple days until I could get that down. But they just can't follow and have that emotional and intellectual connection with you to follow where you're guiding them when they're doped up. in my opinion. But consult your vet. I'm not a vet, but that's what I do for behavior.
Yeah. I mean, there are other methods as well. Like I'm a huge proponent of CBD oil, a
Yeah.
high quality CBD oil, um, used as needed. And again, I'm not opposed to pharmaceuticals. We try to be as realistic as possible, as holistic as possible as
Mhm.
well. So there's a time and a place for the trazodone, but like I was speaking to, seeing folks who that is like their go-to, and
But
they're
yeah,
just
that's because they've tried everything and they can't figure out. They've either tried everything or there's a few of them that just don't want to try. But a lot of parents, I see a lot of parents who've tried everything and nothing's worked because that's all they see out there is the dog training options, and then they're paralyzed by their dog training options, even, right? And then they see it not working, and then it just starts this snowball effect of where, and then they're finally you finally just throw your hands up and like, okay, let's put them on medication because the vet's got nothing, what the vet, the vet's like, here, I can give you some medication, but all that
right.
stuff, like I said, all that stuff, just, when you see the book and you read the book, it's like, you'll see how it's all tied together. And then it could just it can all be all worked out. I'm talking like 97% of everything that you're seeing is addressed in this book and can be worked out way easier than you think.
Great. Well, that sounds fantastic. And
Yeah.
I have to admit, I haven't read it yet, but I am definitely ready to dig into it for sure.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Can you cover any fulfillment ideas for dogs like Chop, who may have mobility issues, so he's not able to get around like the other dogs? He is a little stressed. He is a little anxious. What fulfillment ideas would you offer, or maybe are in your book, to help dogs like him?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't, I have a lot of fulfillment options in there. I didn't specifically address like, if they have because, there's a wide range of fulfillment, intellectual and physical fulfillment that's covered in the book. And then when you keep an eye on these different things that you try, and then you see something that each individual dog, like, oh, I can see he really likes that, or I can see she keeps repeatedly going to that, or she gets this way faster than she gets this. So then you start seeing what they're drawn to, just like kids. And then now that gives you your clue to start going in that area more and more and give them more of that makes them happy. The hunting dog I've had before that had a fear of, and I think her story is in the book, um, uh, about hunting. And so I made things with, like, I made a thing with paper, like when they're kind of at paper. Have you noticed that they'll kind of go at paper a lot and they're really attracted to paper? They keep wanting to get in your papers. That's really like a feathers and a hunting thing. They're attracted
Right.
to what would be a feather or something, so I kind of make that crunchy paper ones, those crunchy paper toys. They like that. You tie them on the end of a string and you can twirl them around. You can run a younger dog out, and get that energy out before you start trying to walk them on a leash and that kind of thing. Just give them a burst out. But for the older dog, just literally even having that paper to crunch, or those crinkly toys, if they're going towards paper, then it's probably one of those things where it's they're missing the hunting thing, or they want to stare up trees for a long time. They want you to be patient and have the time to let them smell as long as they want when they're, especially when
Yeah.
they're old. Take the time to let them smell in the grasses and look up the trees, and set with them patient, not just always like, I gotta get to work, I gotta get to work. I mean, take planned times where you can do that for them, because daily life is hectic a lot for most people. But this kind of fulfillment is really important, especially for older dogs, or vulnerable dogs, or dogs who are having behavioral problems, because this is missing from their life. Right. Once you give them that, you see this whole dog change. You see it change when you've fulfilled them. Now I can ask you to have good behavior with these techniques. But I was thinking of a couple things that I wanted to mention, and I don't want to forget them. Some of them in certain order. Um, Fulfillment ideas. Like, I'm sure that you've done a lot of the peanut butter lick pads and that kind of stuff. You probably do a lot
Yeah.
of that. Um, Allowing more smelling on walks, slowing down the pace of the energy, what we just talked about. A lot with smell, because I noticed, like, I don't know if this is true. You probably definitely have an opinion about this. It seems like the hearing goes first from what I've noticed.
That's
And
true.
then, so it's
Yes.
a lot the hearing. And so I've usually been like, I only end up being clapping. For some reason, they end up hearing a clapping. And then then they know, because you're sitting there trying to call their name. Don't get frustrated, whatever. They can't hear you. and obviously it's not their fault, but there's other things they can sometimes hear, like clapping really loud, or I don't know whether it's, I don't know the exact physical reason why they
I
seem to be
clap.
able to.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what I do. I
Yeah.
clap.
And for some reason, they kind of hear that longer when they lose their
Right.
hearing.
Right.
Um, and then smell, of course, when you bring that in, it's like, you can like hide smells in, I feel like those big outdoor, pools, like a baby pool, but a hard-sided one, it- with water, if you want them to, like, they want to be able to cool their joints or lay down in their joints or cool on a hot day, just laying there, they find so much more joy in that. Or you can fill it with dirt or whatever if you want them to dig, or you can give them a place in their yard where they can dig, where they've normally not been able to dig the rest of their lives. That was against the
Right.
rules somewhere else, right? But
That's
here you
right.
have this
Yes.
corner of the yard you can dig. You could bury things in there. You can put balls, like those play set balls inside of those, pools, and hide smelling things down in there, so they have to do this for a while. You know what I mean? And they get
Great
tired faster
idea.
than younger dogs. So
Right.
a lot of the smelling and hearing stuff helps. Also, I think just from a practical standpoint, trying to give dogs baths and try to give them their medicine and that kind of stuff, like, it's more challenging when they're older, and they have to have it, a lot of it. A lot of them do. But that outdoor pool, again, I've noticed, like, if I'll fill one of those up with a little bit of water, say this is on a summer day or any sunny day, and you let it set out there, and string your hose all the way out too, right? And it's full of water. Then you can just have them kind of step in that pool, and the water check the temperature of the water coming out of the hose, but it's already kind of like preheated by water, warmed by Mother Nature, and you can kind of just easily give them a much easier bath experience, trying to get them out. They're slinging it everywhere. I mean, this whole outside bathing thing, I've done that a lot with older dogs, where it's just too stressful to try to bathe them inside, or you can't get them up into the tub. You're hurting them if you try to get them up to the tub, or you don't have a dog. I put in a dog wash, which was one of the best things I've ever done, I got to say, but I didn't have that all those years before. And so they need something very shallow they can step in. It's all, you don't want to carry heated water out. It just makes it easier to kind of set up and think about doing things that they didn't get to do before in their life when they were younger.
You touch base on so many things we do here at the sanctuary. So we call them
Right.
snifaris,
Oh, nice.
where we're out probably 5 or 6 times a day here on the sanctuary grounds. We have acreage here, so we have fields, farm animals, we have woods with walking trails, and nobody's leashed. We're all fenced in.
Right.
So they just get to go. And like you said, they get to go and they be dogs.
Yeah.
And
Smell,
we
smell,
also,
smell.
yo, big time,
Yeah.
they smell all the time. We also allow for the digging. Like you said,
Yes.
we
Love
have
it.
three
Love it.
three spots. They're all under bushes. So
Yeah.
it's not right in our particular, it's not a problem to us, but we allow them to dig in certain areas. And I have to tell you, one of the holes, I'm not even kidding you, it's probably 2.5 feet deep
Yeah.
at this
Yeah.
point.
I don't
And
doubt it. Yeah.
I just found one of the stuffed bunnies in it yesterday. One of the dogs put a stuffed bunny in it yesterday, but we allow them to be dogs
Yeah.
and just do what they were called to do.
Yeah.
And
I
at
love
this
it.
point, of course, they're German shepherds, so they're herding dogs. And we do have goats, chickens, and ducks, and some of them will attempt to herd on one side of the fence where they'll run up and down the fence line the best they can,
Yeah.
trying to herd the chickens
Yeah.
and the ducks and the goats and whatnot. And I truly believe that that has been part of the success of Woody's Place, is
Yeah.
just allowing them to be dogs. And like you said, provide that enrichment for them that they weren't getting elsewhere. About 80% of our residents over the decades have come from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And if you're familiar with that area, it's concrete jungle, really. I mean, there's very little green space. Um, and I've just noticed how tense the dogs are when they come in. I mean, obviously, they've been through a very horrible, very stressful situation coming from a loud shelter where I swear they can sense death is imminent.
Mm,
They know, I think a lot of them know
yeah.
that their time is up there. They're transported almost 3 hours north to this natural haven, if you will, where it's nothing but grass and trees and fields and creeks and lakes and all that stuff. And it takes them a second to realize, what is this? what is this all about? And then all of a sudden, their doggy instincts kick in.
Mhm.
And like you
Yeah,
said, they
it's
just want to
amazing.
stiff.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how even after years and years and years of that, how quickly they come back to that state of
Yes.
mind, and find enjoyment in it. And it's like, it sounds wonderful. Thank you so much for doing that for them. I mean, all that
So,
stuff. It's just
my
incredible. I mean,
point
it's
to
like
all that is,
I got to hear all those stories that keeps me going.
yeah, my point to all that is, I truly believe that in addition to the fair but firm parenting technique that we incorporate, which you clearly
Mhm.
support, is why it's been so successful all these years. And we don't have dog fights and we don't have dogs biting people who either work here or come to help. Um, it's just one big marriage of all of those things that have made it so wonderful for these dogs. And really, I just want that personally for people who adopt dogs or purchase a dog. I
Exactly.
want it to be a good thing.
That's what I was going to say, Dawn, is that exactly what you have done there on that picture in your world, in that environment, is what this book creates in each person's home, right? It's like it's a huge, huge factor that what's contained in this book, because that's what I want to create in everybody's house, and it works. And it's like, I know, and sometimes when you're in rescue, you just get so defeated by people, like you get so defeated by humans and let down by humans. It's like, and I see that. And believe me, I felt it many, many, many years, for decades. But I also see another side where it's really hard to make things work out when you don't have the right information, where everybody's in this dog training mindset and they're trying to have kids, they want to have they have good intentions, not everybody's going to keep a dog that has terrible separation anxiety and rips apart everything in your house, or, I mean, it's like that. It's like most people can only take that for so long. I'm not advocating that you get rid of it, but I know how to fix it. But I want everybody to know how to fix it, or not to let it develop. First of all, it's so easy not to let it develop. But people don't know it. And it's like, so it's really like there's a double side of the coin where, they're giving up, and they're giving up on these dogs, and I get that. But also there's another side where it's like they don't have a fighting chance on a lot of it because they don't have the information they need. And what you've created there is what I want to do, like a mini version of on everybody's home.
Yes.
It's not going to be as grand as being able to be out and walk
Oh,
freely
I
and
get
smell
that.
and dig and all that on everyone, but dogs can have a good life in a lot of different ways.
Absolutely. And when I refer to the city as a concrete jungle, I wasn't trying to be negative
Oh, I
because
agree. No, I know exactly what you're
yeah,
saying. Yeah, no, I know.
they certainly, thrive in a city environment as well. But people, I agree, they have to have the know-how, and many don't. I mean, it's
Right,
like being a parent. We don't get handed this baby with a manual, a how-to
right,
manual.
right,
And of course, there's a ton of baby books out there, but not everyone resonates with every parent.
right,
Just like dog training techniques
right.
uh, don't resonate with every dog or every dog parent. And your book sounds like an awesome, very relatable uh, book
Yeah,
that is ready to fill that void right there
yeah.
that
It's
people are
it's
just not
there's
getting
a
in the training
yeah,
world.
there's a wide berth of things that are missing out there for dogs to be happy. It's the missing element. It's in it. It's people need this information in this book. Um, and I'm not listen. I wouldn't have done this for 28 years because I want something out of it. Of course, obviously, I want things to be successful, but I keep pointing to this book because I know what it'll cure. And I know what it'll fix. And I know every one of these books in my mind that sells is a dog that gets to have a happy home, or a dog that doesn't um, gets to keep their home and their family, because it's like their home and their family is everything to them. They live, that's everything to them. They don't have any past, like, mortgage or what happened in the past or what happened. Their current family environment is everything to them. And to have that ripped away is just so terrible, and what's even more terrible than that is when it didn't even need to happen, which is 95% of the time it did not need to happen. But people get stuck in a situation, parents get stuck where they just, but so I even talk to people about, even when a lot of have past failed adoptions, right? And you've got the guilt that goes along with that. Some people, like you're saying, don't have guilt, but a lot of them do. But once they read the book, or once they see the information, or they see it in action, then I'm very proud of the fact when they get they get the confidence to try it again, and then what they use in here works, right? But you got to be able to let go of the guilt of that past thing, right? We all make mistakes, and we make mistakes because we didn't know what we needed to know then, or we were too immature then, or whatever. It doesn't mean you can't give another dog a home, if you have the right information and the right, attitude about it, or, philosophy about it. So,
Philosophy.
but dogs, I mean, yeah, if you're living back to the concrete environment, you've got to know how to fulfill dogs and what means something to dogs, so that you can find a way to like the descriptions in the book about a way to fulfill them, because they can't just not have those dog things fulfilled because they live in an apartment. They still have to have them fulfilled, right? And there's lots of ways to find out how to use in the book to fulfill them.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's going to be a hit, really, because I have found, again, there are some bad seeds out there who just shouldn't have dogs, but I have found a
There's people that
majority of the folks,
shouldn't have babies, or shouldn't have kids too. It's like
true,
they're
but I have found a majority of the folks who have adopted dogs really went into it with good intentions and wanted it to work. And when it didn't, they were heartbroken. I
yeah,
have
they're
tons of emails to prove that. They are absolutely beside themselves that it just didn't work out.
It's like
So,
they get blindsided because, and again, it's back to this. Oh, he's so smart. He learned this is working. Look how fast he learned to set for a treat. No, still wants to bite the kid when he runs by. Still wants to flee out the door and run in front of a car when, we're pulling him back. We're fighting him. Now we're wrestling this wild animal. He's not a wild animal. I mean, it's only because he's not being, the safety rules and the way you teach him. It's just like, he needs modern family skills. He doesn't need to learn to sit on for a treat. He can, and that's fun. And that's great. It does need to stay back. He can sit and stay back when I ask him to, just so I can get a safe environment. Now you can come forward, right? You have to be safe, but just that, high fives and all that, it's great, but it doesn't teach them how to not bite a kid,
yeah.
or how to stay home by themselves, right? And
Yes.
feel comfortable
Yeah.
about staying home by themselves, or to love their crate as a bed and a sanctuary that they can go into where nobody bothers them, where they can actually be off duty.
Right.
Dog training does not teach that.
Yeah. That's a whole other topic in and of itself. I mean, there's the procreate people, and oh, that's such a horrible thing. So that's,
I know. And because
it's like
of their
religion.
experiences, yeah, I mean, because of their experiences with um typical dog training and trying to, shove dogs into crates and stuff. I have a crate recipe that there has not been one single dog that has not absolutely wanted to go in their crate, and did it when I did the recipe. And because the magic there is, I set up the scenario, the parameters, and all parents set up the parameters of which makes the dog choose the crate himself. And when they believe it's their own idea, that makes all the difference in the world. So here's your crate recipe that shows you exactly how to do that. Now the dog's picked it. I haven't asked him to get in the crate. I never shoved him in there when he wasn't ready, but you got to have like steps, and the recipe has to be outlined, and it is outlined on the book. Like I said, there's one you can put on your refrigerator. Download, do these steps, and when your dog will choose to get into the crate and on its own, and view it as a bed, not as a
Sanctuary.
cage.
Right. I think that's going to be a big one for a lot of
Mm,
folks because again, I've gotten tons of emails. My dog doesn't like my crate. My dog bloodied
yeah,
himself breaking out of his
yeah,
crate. Um,
exactly.
that's a problem. And again, they want this to be they want it to be successful. Like you're saying, view it as a sanctuary, leave the door open. The dog chooses to go in on its own. They
Right.
want that for their
But
dog.
you got to set up you have to know how to parenting, how to guide them into doing that, right? I set up the parameters that makes them choose it, but they choose it, right? So it's, you got to see the recipe. I can't just, I can't say out things, because then person will go do one of those things. It's like, no, it's the whole recipe. You have to do the whole recipe. It takes 2 to 3 days. And when you're doing it, you're working on it here and there, it takes 2 or 3 days. And then after that, it doesn't matter to me if you have them sleep in your bed. You can have them sleep anywhere. They don't need to sleep in the crate, but you want to keep that crate, that thing for, medical reasons, or, if he can go in there, and no kids are allowed to go in there. You're not allowed to, you're not allowed to talk to him when he's in there. They're not allowed to poke anything through the thing. They're not allowed to do anything. The dog in there, he's off duty, and the dogs can only relax when they feel they're off duty. So this crate recipe sets it up as they believe it's off duty place. They believe it's theirs because they chose it, and they love it. Right? It doesn't matter
Yeah,
whether the door's
sure.
closed or shut. I mean, or closed or open. They'll go in there and sleep. So, but I wouldn't be saying this if it wasn't true. But all I have are the worst of the worst cases. I have dogs all the dogs that have come to me have not wanted to get into a crate. They hated it because of all the past experience with it.
Right,
Right?
right. It wasn't
Every one of
presented
them,
in a way that was
every
like, this
single
is your
one of
safe
them.
space.
Yeah. Bar none. Now I've had love their crate after this crate recipe. I'm not making it up. I'm telling,
Well,
but people don't believe it until they see it, because they go, no, it can't be that. Oh, like I described in the beginning of the chapter, it's like, oh, I bet you love getting to this chapter on the crate, because I've seen everything, I heard everything that you have over the years, over and over and over, right? So they're thinking, I'm probably going to skip that chapter on the crate because my dog already hates his crate. He hates it as maybe I'll skim this chapter because if I get a new puppy who's super laid back, it might work on him. But my dog already hates his crate with the heat of 1,000 suns. He's never going to get in it. But that crate recipe, and then he does.
well, that would be a winner. Like I said, for many people who want that crate to be that safe space for the dog. So,
Yeah. I mean, they
in
still
and of
have
it,
yeah,
in
they
and
can
of
still have a dog
itself,
sleep with them in the bed. They can do anything they want. But
right?
still, if you work this recipe for like the 2 or 3 days, you work this recipe, you list it out in the chapter. I mean, the benefits are, you know, you can't even they're too many to list the benefits of a dog having that space for himself that he wants to be in, whether your dog sleeps with you at night or not in your bed. My dog sleeps with me in my bed, still loves his crate.
Yeah, yeah. We don't, I know this is probably going to be, I shouldn't say, but I've said it before. We don't have crates here at the sanctuary. We actually have rooms
Yeah,
that act as crates. They're just huge. But like I said, like for instance, Chop, when he's not in a good way or I'm leaving or whatever, he has to go. And then we have in a room with a big gate that he can see the other dogs through. But it's
right.
the same principle.
And
It's
is he
the same
relaxed in there and
principle.
he's comfortable?
He's here right now, right next to me.
Yeah.
He's out
I mean,
like a light,
when he's in that
out like a
room,
light.
he can relax and he's off duty, and it's not like he
Yeah, yeah. So if I'm leaving to go to the store and whatnot, I'll put him in the room. Like I said, it's either my Florida room or my office, full of windows he can see out because they're all kind of low to the ground. He has water, he has big barker dog beds. It's very, very comfortable for him. And he might voice a little displeasure as soon as I put him in the room, but he calms down very quickly. I have cameras
Mhm.
set up all over, and I can
Yeah.
see as soon as I pull out of the driveway, he's already on one of the beds.
Yeah, he's not tearing apart stuff inside the room or anything. It's like
No, no.
what usually happens is you want to make sure, like I always say, when you're going to work this crate recipe that parents take, like it's good to do it on a Friday or Saturday or Sunday or sometime when somebody
Yeah,
can come in and fill in for you or you're not going to leave. You cannot shove them into the crate, which sometimes by necessity you had to put him into the room, and when he, he had not chosen it for himself yet, right? But the dogs do it so quickly. In 2 days, the dog, if you do this, don't try to put him in there, but you got to take the 2 days. They deserve 2 days, right? They deserve 2 days of your
please.
concentration, of you staying
Sure.
home, having somebody come and work that understands the recipe that's going to fill in for you while you're gone, or take your dog with you, whatever. Avoid shoving him into the crate or ever putting him in there until he chooses it himself. And he will choose it by the end of the second day with this recipe. And then he never has that feeling about it again. Right? He only views that as his place and he feels comfortable in it. Now, unless you were like where the typical dog training tells them to put it in their crate for a timeout, or, like you're super excited and you shove them in there, that would ruin their crate. That'll ruin their view of the crate that way. And you'd have to start over again. But other than that, barring that, they're going to, once they decide that's their bed, once they have the routine, once they say, we do this, dogs say they want to do the same stuff in the same way in the same times. They want their routine like a toddler. That
Right.
crate becomes their routine of where they view it that way. And so they want it to be that way. right?
Well, I'm actually really glad you said what you just said about putting a dog in a crate on timeout, if they're bad or whatever, because unfortunately, that's what I see more than not, that they are using it as a form of punishment. And that's, I think, when things go sideways. That's when you have the dog trying to break out and it's getting
Right.
bloodied because it's trying to break out. It
Right.
is a punishment. It is a punishment to that dog. So
Right.
if you're using it as a form of punishment, how are they ever supposed to look at it like their sanctuary?
Exactly.
Does it
But
that doesn't even make sense.
I'm sure you've read, and I've seen all typical trainers telling people that put him in a timeout if he gets too like, no, it's like
Right.
the bad part about, well, there's many bad parts about that, but one of the worst parts is dogs have to be able to be included, right? That's one of their natural rights. And I talk about this in the book, right? They're born to be included with us, so they need to be included as much as possible, right? So they cannot learn how to be included if you remove them from the rooms, right? It just increases the problems that you had that you wanted to remove them from the room for the first place. I understand why people do it because they don't know how to fix it, or they don't know how to, deal with the problem or the behavior they're having here. I'll tell you exactly how to deal with the behavior you're having. It's way easier than you think. You just don't remove them from the room when a guest comes in or whatever. You can teach them how to be. Here's exactly how you do it. Set this up, set up this scenario, do this thing, do that 3 times. Now they know how to be here when how to behave when a guest is there. Right? It just takes a little forethought, but now parents don't even need to do the forethought. I've already done it all for them. I've already done the work. I've done this a long time, and all they have to do is read it and do it. And it's easy.
Quiet and then repetition, I would imagine. I would imagine
Easy.
there's
Not even that many of it, but yeah. Yeah. A couple repetitions, not
right.
25 repetitions. Yeah. All right.
Let me ask you, where can people find this wonderful book of yours?
Well, on the social media sites, it's Angie for Dogs, but we're currently rebranding to go with the book too, Parenting for Dogs. So
Okay.
they can go to parentingfordogs.com and, get news about the book and all that. But the book is for sale on Amazon under
Okay.
Don't Train Your Dogs, or Don't Train Your Dog, a pet parenting guide to teaching good behavior and calming fear and raising happy dogs. So,
Okay. So
yeah,
Amazon
yeah,
and I'll get your website for you and any of your social media channels. And I will include that along with a link to purchase the book. And I'll put that in the podcast notes. That way, if anyone
awesome.
who's listening wants to just click directly on that, they can and find out more about you and this fantastic book, which I'm excited
Great.
to read. And I just plow through books. So
Yeah.
I'll have it read in a
Yeah,
few days.
I'll send you the digital copy. I just remembered something else, and I don't know if you're interested in this or that your listeners might be interested in this, but when my dog Hustle, when he was older, um, I kind of had just like 5 pieces of wood laying around, and that's another thing I do is like remodel houses. So I kind of had this in my mind, but I have like the simplest little recipe to make a dog ramp, and it sits right up in front of the door, and it's like four little things you can buy from Home Depot or something. But so if they're interested, and I could put in like the little exactly how you do it. You can make it in like 20 minutes. These are pads that are non-slippery.
I see
um
that.
so I
Okay.
had them on my front door. I have a couple of pictures of them, and it's like literally like 6 boards, and you don't even need any construction knowledge. And so I wrote down like the 5 things I was thinking. I'm going to put that on the website, if and your listeners could go to that if they're interested in building like a quick ramp for their older dogs, because stairs become the quickest, are the hardest thing for them, the quickest, as you know, especially with German Shepherds. I'm sure you know that,
Absolutely.
but
Absolutely. I love the fact that you put on that ramp is phenomenal, by the way. But I love the fact that you use the anti-skid grip. Not only is it great for anti-slip, but it also helps with their nails.
yes, true.
I
Yeah,
yeah, I have
yeah.
something like that they can actually scratch their nails on. For it's great for dogs who don't like their nails trimmed. So that's phenomenal.
Yeah, and I actually had this house I built. I built this out in the country, but then I have a picture from further away from this, and I put it up there, and I was like, "Oh, I'm just going to move this ramp in front when the dog comes in and out, or when nobody's here." But I end up liking it so much, I just left it there, and everybody just came to my house. They're like, "Oh, I like this ramp." So I thought it looked cute enough to leave it,
Oh,
and not move it. So I
sure.
had 2 of them, one going up onto the porch, and then one going into the thing. It's like, one little piece of a 2x12 board, you cut it diagonal, and then you put the ones on top, and links. I'll put this on the website, and then links to like the anti-skid paper, the rough,
Okay.
like, sandpaper-ish stuff.
No,
A
I
little
think that's
stencil with the
phenomenal.
paw print. Yeah.
Yeah, they're cute. And I think it's fantastic, just even for dogs like Chop who are in canine wheelchairs that,
Yeah. Oh,
that is
yeah.
another reason, believe it or not, why people will surrender a dog if they have a dog who's in a wheelchair and they have, steps from their yard into their house and they're like, well, we can't do it anymore. And yeah, there are ways. And that ramp is definitely perfect
Super
for a
easy.
dog in a wheelchair.
Super
Yeah.
easy, but it's like, if I wasn't already had the things laying there or had any kind of construction knowledge, I'd be like, I'm not sure what I need to build that really. Oh, here it is. 4 boards, this roll of this stuff, whatever, and click, you can get them here at Home Depot or one of those, one of the hardware stores. And here's
Find
exactly
that
how to put it together.
information.
So easy, so easy.
They can find that information on your website as well.
I'll put it on there if because I was just thinking about that when I was thinking about older dogs. I'm like, oh, I should put that little, how I did that ramp quick and easy and cheap for when we were talking about older dogs. So I'll see if I can have them put that up on the website.
All right, wonderful. Well, Angie, this has been great. I really appreciate your time, all of your
Yeah.
knowledge. And like I said, I'm so excited to read your book and get the information out there to our listeners and anyone who might be interested in learning more about your book and becoming the best possible pet parent that they can be. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks so much.